Hello, everyone. Welcome to Summit VB Fan. I'm your host, Jeremy Cleveland, and I'll once again be your guide throughout the 2026 Summit League volleyball season on this feed. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. The calendar's flipped over to August. That means it's volleyball month. The teams are back in the gym practicing. We'll soon have some scrimmages and exhibition matches to watch. And then on August the 28th, we'll serve it up for real as non-conference play gets started. On today's episode, I'm going to start the first of my team previews. Let's start with the two-time defending champions, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. And what can we say about last year other than it was perfect? Yes, a perfect 16-0 season in Summit League play. The Jacks went 23-5 overall, and for the second consecutive year, they earned an at-large bid to the NCAA Tournament. So it is year number 7 for head coach Dan Georgalis at the helm. He's done a tremendous job. 102-66 overall, 65-35 in Summit League play. They've now moved into the number 1 spot in the Summit when it comes to team attendance. They will be playing the number 1 toughest non-conference schedule out of Summit League teams. And oh, by the way, they will host the number 1 team in the country come September the 2nd when the Nebraska Cornhuskers come into town. So a lot of things to be excited about if you're a Jackrabbit fan. Over the last 2 years, there's been a whole lot of winning going on at Brookings. 27-3 in 2024, 23-5 in 2025. Put that together, the Jacks have won 50 matches over the last 2 years. That's a crazy good number. Now, looking forward to 2026 here, there are some question marks. Put this in perspective, South Dakota, the Coyotes, their arch rival, who will be a major contender this year, they will return 98% of their points from a season ago. The Jackrabbits will return just 73%. The Jackrabbits will return just 54% of their sets played. But before you get the violin music out and feel bad for Coach Dan there at South Dakota State, his foundation is pretty strong. 4 returning award winners, including the 2-time Player of the Year outside hitter, Sylvie Zonks. She's a special one. First teamer, Riley Martin at setter is back. First teamer, Madison Burr, right side middle blocker is back. All freshmen last year, Hannah Klein, outside hitter right side, is back as well. The big void, and I mean big void, is up the middle. Middle blocker Sydney is gone after back-to-back years as a first teamer. I think she's 6'5". She impacted opposing hitting percentages in a big-time way. Plus, she was strong on the offensive side as well. So that will be the major question mark, I think, going into this season for the Jackrabbits. Let's go to page number 2 here, and you see the roster snapshot. On the right-hand side, 7 players lost from a year ago that played a combined 463 sets. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see anybody in bold was on the roster a year ago. Everyone else is new, and that's how we arrived at the percentages that I did on the front page. Let's go position group by position group now to see maybe some strengths and weaknesses on the roster front. We'll start with defensive specialist, where the Jackrabbits lost 4, and they lost 4 that played some sets there. 97, 104, 46. Those are contributors in a big-time way. Returning, though, you have Jocelyn Richardson, 5'9", senior out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, played in 104 sets last year, 3.31 digs per set. So that's a strong returner right there. What really stands out to me on this page, though, is you lose 4, you're only adding 2. Normally what that tells me is you really like the 2 that you're adding. So I'm going to circle Kennedy Whitford on my list. I'm going to pencil her in as a all-freshman player right away because I think that may be the player that they really, really like. 5'4" freshman out of Iowa. She was number 2 in the state at her position, according to PrepDig, and she was the number 17 overall player in the state of Iowa for the class of 2026. So my gut is she must be really good because they didn't add depth at the defensive specialist position. They also went to the portal Added Anna Johansson out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, 5'5" sophomore, a transfer from New Mexico, played in 19 matches for the Lobos last season. If I'm not mistaken, I think I read that her dad's a former NHL player, so you got probably some competitive spirit in the family there as well. So very interesting, a defensive specialist once again. 4 outgoing, but only 2 incoming. That tells me, I think the talent level's there. I have no concerns for the Jackrabbits at this particular position. And once again, I am circling that Kennedy Whitford. Be really anxious to see what type of impact she makes right away. Next up, let's go to setter. They didn't lose anybody. They didn't add anybody. They don't need to, because I think the current setter and the future setter are well in place. Riley Martin, of course, is back at setter. She has 2,154 career assists at South Dakota State. First teamer last year. She's a 5'8" senior out of Eden, Colorado. Now, who else they have back is Brooke Larson, 5'11" sophomore out of Council Bluffs, Iowa. 17 sets played last year. You flip the pages back to 2025. She was the number 2 setter in the state of Iowa, the number 8 overall recruit in the state. I think South Dakota State has their future setter already. That's why they didn't need to add any more depth. They have the 1 and the 2. They have the handoff, I guess. The succession plan is already in place. So setter is a position of strength once again for the Jackrabbits in 2026. Next up, we go to outside hitter. Well, he got the 2-time Summit Player of the Year. Sylvie Zonks there, 5'11" senior out of Hartford, Wisconsin. 1,319 career kills. That's a pretty good player to have returning. No one lost at the position. They did add someone, though. It's Mallory Hartwig, outside hitter, freshman, 5'11", out of Sauk City, Wisconsin. She was number 7 at her position, number 19 overall recruit in the state of Wisconsin for the 2026 class. So it looks like South Dakota State is planning to go Wisconsin to Wisconsinite at the position once it's time to hand off the baton, I guess. Next up, we go to, if my screen wants to work, there we go. Outside hitter, right side. I hope I didn't miss a position. No, I got it right. There we go. 1 player lost there with 6 sets played. 2 returning players, no one added at this particular position. Returning, you have Hannah Klein, 6-foot sophomore out of Albany, Minnesota. I pass Albany all the time on Highway 94. Love that Dairy Queen and mini golf there. If you ever go to Albany, stop there and you can say hi to me because I stop there all the time as I make my trips down 94. Klein, Summit League all-freshman player, 104 sets played, 233 kills. She's going to be a good one. Then you have Caitlin Van Kirk, a 6'2" junior out of Bozeman, Montana. Played 13 sets last year for the Jacks. She started her career at Boise State. You can't teach height. She's got height at 6'2". We'll see if she has more of an impact here this upcoming season. Next up on the position chart, you got a right side middle blocker. You lost a player there with 99 sets played, 160 points, so that's a big loss, a key contributor there. You have returning, though, Madison Burr, first team, All Summit League, AVCA All-Region. She was the freshman of the year back in 2024. That's how good Madison Burr is, 6'1" junior out of Goodhue, Minnesota. Now, what they've added is Hannah, a 6'3" freshman out of Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah, Coach Dan, he's got a nice pipeline in Wisconsin, that's for sure. And Hannah here, number 5 at her position, number 24 overall in the class of 2026 in Wisconsin. And once again, you can't teach height. She's 6'3", and looked at some of her film. She looks like a really good one. So circle that name. I see her playing a big factor this upcoming season and replacing a lot of the points they lost there in Brown. Next up, we go to middle blocker, and this is the big one. That is the big question mark. Sydney is gone. First team All-Summit in 24 and 25, 1.38 blocks per set, 903 points between 23 and 25. That's going to be tough to replace. But what they've done here is they have 3 different options. They have the returning, a 6'3" redshirt sophomore out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Taylor, 2 sets played. She had a .364 hitting percentage in her senior year of high school. Then you have the big wild card, maybe the most intriguing wild card in all of Summit League volleyball, Brooklyn Meyer, 6'2" senior out of Iowa, gifted athlete. Yes, the same Brooklyn Meyer that started basketball, three-time All-Summit League basketball player. She did play 3 years of varsity volleyball in high school. She's, like I said, a gifted athlete. She's going to bring a lot of things to your team no matter what. She's got experience. She's played under pressure. She's got the leadership skills. Will she be the player to bust through and win the job? We'll find out. It's going to be one to watch during the course of the season. I can't wait to see where Brooklyn Meyer's role kind of falls into this roster and what type of impact she makes. Now, option number 3 for South Dakota State is going to be a transfer. Claire, I can't pronounce it. I apologize. I'm just going to call you Claire. 6'3" sophomore out of Prior Lake, Minnesota. Love to see the Minnesota kids. A transfer from Dayton, appeared in 27 sets last year. Number 11 at the position. Number 46 overall in the class of, I think that's a typo, should have been class of 2025 in Minnesota. But yes, you take a Sydney out of the equation. You have the unknown, the wild card of Brooklyn Meyer. You have the up-and-coming in Taylor, your redshirt sophomore, and then you have the transfer to see if you can coach her up and take her to that next level. And Claire, you got 6'3", 6'3", 6'2", replacing 6'5". Yeah, hopefully someone's got the vertical there to equate to Sydney's numbers, but we'll see how that plays out. That, once again, will be the big position. Who of these 3 will step up and win the job here before the season starts? Can't wait to see how that one plays out. Next up, we go to right side. No one lost, no one returning, but we've added 2. And the 2 added are also intriguing. You have Marissa and I'm going to say Michaelis, maybe? I should have looked at the website of how to pronounce all the names, so I apologize that I'm not good at the announcer skills of this job anyway. 6-foot freshman out of Woodbury, Minnesota. I know Woodbury. I just went to the Trader Joe's in Woodbury last week. That's our nearest one, I think, from Fargo anyway. Number 1 at the position, number 16 overall recruit in the Minnesota 2026 class. Once again, reading a lot of her recruiting profiles there on Prep Dig, something to be excited about with her potential with the program. And then a very, very big wild card. If there wasn't enough of a wild card, here we are for Poland. 6'5", so we get the height. A junior, Patricia Lubka, Becca, something like that. Okay, there we go. I'm mispronouncing all the names now on the show. A transfer from Middle Tennessee State and Florida Southwestern State College. Hit 291 with 1.78 kills per set in 24-25. This coaching staff, well, once again, they saw the height. They see some potential, some skills there they may be able to develop. So if this coaching staff likes her and found her from Florida Southwestern State College, I'm going to be keeping an eye on to see what they can do from a developmental process there to see what type of impact she could have on the rotation potentially. So that's, I think, all the positions. Yes, that was all the positions. I butchered a lot of names. I didn't even give a couple names, and I apologize that. But overall, I love where South Dakota State is from a roster perspective. Some spots where I was a little bit concerned, like defensive specialists, I'm now perfectly comfortable with where they're at right now. Setter, I'm good. Outside hitter, of course, good. It's going to come down to that middle blocker. Who can replace Sydney? And they have multiple options, and that's what the non-conference is for. That's what, obviously, the exhibitions are for. And, the preparation here, practice time over the next month, who's going to win that job and take it away. Okay, now looking at the schedule, when we get to the non-conference schedule, South Dakota State, once again, playing the toughest non-conference schedule in the Summit League. South Dakota is basically a 1B, though. They're really close. Both teams are playing a tremendous non-conference schedule. The Jackrabbits are going to take on 7 top 100 Massey teams from a year ago, and Sacramento State is no slouch at 107. Northern Arizona, no slouch at 103. So they're really playing 9 teams that are on that border of a top 100 type program. So we're going to find out a lot about the Jacks right away, playing in Malibu against Sacramento State, Pepperdine, and Villanova. 3 teams, once again, in the top 107. Pepperdine top 50 a year ago. Villanova at number 75. And if that's not a big enough test, guess what? First home match of the year. Yeah, come on, Nebraska. Come to town. Come to Brookings. Place is sold out already. good luck on the secondary market getting a decent ticket. But yeah, that'll be a fun night there, September 2nd in Brookings when the Cornhuskers come to town. Then maybe a little easier stretch, 4th through the 5th there, Western Illinois, Northern Arizona, and Bradley at home. And then September the 11th and 12th, they'll be in Lawrence, Kansas. True road game against the Jayhawks. Then they'll also face Tulsa. And then I can't wait to be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where they'll take on Washington on September the 18th and then Minnesota on September the 19th. I have a typo there. That should be the 19th there, not the 18th. Minnesota's on the 19th. But yeah, that's how the non-conference schedule looks. It is a very challenging schedule for Coach Dan. But if South Dakota State is going to be the team I think they're going to be, this is going to help prepare them for the month of December and also late November when it comes to the Summit League tournament. So this is a very, very challenging non-conference schedule, and it's going to give the Summit League a great opportunity to improve all the computer numbers and hopefully, once again, have a 3rd consecutive year where the Summit League can get an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. So that's a look at the schedule. I will be previewing every match in Summit League action with my predictions before the season starts. I'm just waiting a little bit longer to do that. But yeah, that is upcoming. Before I wrap here, just a reminder, please join volleytalk.proboards.com. Keep the Summit League on the national radar. Right now, you can vote for the 2 teams that you predict will reach the championship, predict the records for various Summit League teams. Love to see that going on out there and join the conversation all season long. Special thanks to Coyote and everyone else that is posting out there at volleytalk.proboards.com, keeping the Summit League once again on the national radar. I'm long-winded. I'm sorry. Hopefully you enjoyed the preview. If you enjoyed this type of preview, drop something in the show notes. Drop something on X. Let me know that you like this format. If you don't like this format, well, then I guess maybe I'll stop. But until we meet again, everyone, have a great day. Let's play volleyball soon, okay?